Hey, what's up? It is increasingly common for us to have to take care of older people from a distance, because we are forced to deal with two increasingly common trends: that older people live longer and in better conditions, and our working and family circumstances make it difficult to care for them in their own homes. Whatever our situation, let us review what needs to be paid attention based on the experience of many who have experienced something similar. Experienced caregivers recommend learning about our loved one's illness, what treatments it requires, and what resources we have. This will make it easy for us to understand what is happening, but above all, it will allow us to be one step ahead to prevent crisis situations, as well as to collaborate actively in medical care. That knowledge will facilitate conversations with the doctor and make the visits more fruitful for everyone. It is good for a trusted person to be aware of sensitive medical and financial issues in order to facilitate important decisions, and for the older person to feel supported. In particular, it is crucial that a family member can talk to all the doctors, just as a single doctor in a hospital must follow up on a patient in order to have full knowledge of what is going on and to avoid mistakes. A family member should take on this role with the older person, especially if he or she begins to show signs of inability to control his or her health. On the other hand, it would be helpful to have all the vital centralized information, such as important health information, social services, contact numbers, financial matters, insurance, etc. It can be assembled in a notebook, or better yet, in a secure online document, properly updated, and accessible to the right people. It's easy to be overwhelmed by the amount of things to do in the always scarce time we have when visiting our loved one. One thing that helps is to talk beforehand with the older person or their caregiver to get to know the needs and coordinate with the responsibilities. For example, does he/she need new winter clothing? Does he/she want to visit another family member? Are there improvements or accommodations to make it as her home? Does he/she have a doctor's appointment? Are there legal or financial issues to put in order? In any case, this prior call will allow us to establish priorities and, therefore, make the most of the visit. Not everything is going to revolve around care. How about thinking of some rewarding activity for everyone? For example, visiting other family members, making it easier to see each other with friends, or taking our family member wherever he or she prefers, a restaurant, a significant place, or doing something he or she normally cannot. It doesn't have to be something complicated, something simple. Without external distractions, it can be of enormous value to the older person. It's about reserving time for this person and making them feel that it's important to us. It is advisable to establish communication by the most appropriate means, that is telephone, video conference, email, with the most suitable person, be it the spouse of the elderly person, the doctor, a close relative, a neighbor, the caretaker, or the worker at the residence where they are being cared for. In addition to opening up communication with our elderly relatives' close environment, which is in a way establishing sentinels at a distance, it may be a good idea to provide the person with a direct way of contacting us. If, for example, he/she is in nurse home, one way to counteract frustration and remorse may be to provide a mobile phone to the person. This will not only provide peace of mind for everyone, but may also be the best strategy to ensure that he/she receives the treatment he/she deserves. Beyond clean facilities, the latest gymnastic equipment and pleasant ambient music, there are major problems in a residence that cannot be compensated even by the best and nicest professionals: loneliness, boredom and impotence. In this context, a phone can be a lifesaver. Even to contrast what their caregivers say, that they may have an incentive not to worry us. Do you understand? This is precisely one of the aspects in which we can be most useful in caring from a distance. Getting off the ground is the hardest part. Getting the material relating to insurance, financial and legal matters and ordering it can be daunting. So we should start with the essentials and fill in the gaps over time. But it's worth it, because it makes caregiving easier and you gain peace of mind, as well as being better prepared to respond to an eventual crisis. The issue is to talk to the older person and their primary caregiver about what documentation is missing and how to organize it. And you should be able to talk about everything, including the thorniest matters, such as death or life insurance, advance directives, or the will. It may also be appropriate to talk about granting a power of attorney appropriate to the circumstances, preventive, special, general. It is a question of getting advice from a notary's office. Of course, in order to talk about this, it is necessary to overcome suspicions and to establish very clearly the intentions. The best way to avoid misgivings may be to ensure that the older person always has the last word, including his or her ability to revoke the power of attorney, and if mistrust still prevails, it will surely be necessary to turn to another trusted relative or friend, or even to a specialized lawyer. Even if we take care from afar, it will surely be good for us to train ourselves in the care of dependent persons. And it is that, like many things in life, many of us do not automatically have the required skills in a caregiver. In this channel we have addressed these issues extensively, giving guidelines from how to cope with a diaper change to how to use a wheelchair, tips for living with heart failure, or how to prevent falls, among many others. They are available, as a minimum, with English and French subtitles, and in many cases, dubbed into these languages. The internet is a good place to start looking. But there are also resources that are not there, and it is only possible to know them through people who live in the same community as our family member. It is also possible to find them by asking in the town hall or in the social services available, either from the administration of non-governmental organizations. And that's all for today. Thank you very much, and until the next video.